What is happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. My name is Devin from B.A.S. Fishing, and today we need to talk about a reel. A reel that many would consider to be Bigfoot because it was there for a while and then it was gone, and you'd see pictures of it popping up. Is it real? Is it not? Yes. This reel does in fact exist. So I wanted to tell you today about the features of it, but not just the features, because I had a lot of people ask me about it, and they'd say, well, how does it compare to the Royal Legend? Should I just not spend the money and get this one instead? Or I'd get the other version saying, well, it seems cool, but should I just pay a little bit more and get the Assassin? So I'll go over the features of this reel. I'll also discuss how I would use this reel, the different applications I would use it for. And finally, I'm going to close out with how does this really fit in the family and the arsenal of my reels. So, Lego. Starting with the gear ratio of the reel. The Spartacus Plus is a 6.3 to 1 gear ratio reel, which means for every one rotation of the handle, you're going to be bringing in 26.8 inches of line per turn. Now that shares the same statistics as the Assassin. It's just a little bit less than the Royal Legend, which is a 7.0 to 1 retrieve, bringing in 31.5 inches per turn. The weight on this reel is pretty good as well. It's only a 7.6 ounce reel. It's a little bit heavier than the Assassin. It's a 5.7 ounce reel, and the Royal Legend is just a tiny bit less at 7.5 ounces. So this is the heaviest reel of the three. You're not going to notice the difference between these two. However, you will notice the difference between these two, but they kind of look the same. How about the line capacity? Well, I am glad you asked. This is 100 yards of 12-pound monofilament. If you look at the Royal Legend, that's 165 yards of 12-pound monofilament. So you can tell this does have just a little bit skinnier spool this way. It's going to hold a little bit less line, but for me, that's still more than enough line that I'll ever need. I'm not casting 100 yards with the baits that I would use on this, and we'll get to that in a second. So let's move around the reel. The thing that attracts most people to this reel, those sweet cork handles. They're a cork rubber handle. They're nice and big. They are extremely easy to grab onto. There's no negative, grabbing it where you might accidentally grab it here. It's a very positive grip on the reel. I do like that about it. They're nice and wide. And as we move in from the handle, star drag clicks. The spool tension does not click. The spool tension does not click on any of these. The star drag does click on all these. However, you will notice the spool tension knobs look just a little bit different. I like that this spool tension knob is a little bit larger. I've never had any issues with this, getting bumped or moved or anything. It's the same spool tension knob as on the Assassin, but I like that it's just a little bit bigger and easier to grab onto than the Royal Legend. Now, I've not had an issue with this one. It's fine. I know a lot of people wish they would click, and I think that would be kind of nice. Not necessarily that I need the audible click to tell me, when I'm tight or loose, oh, I went one or two this way. But just in case it does get bumped, it's not going to get accidentally moved. You should be able to hear it. It's got a very nice crisp engagement on the thumb bar. There's no mush in between where you could accidentally set it and then it doesn't want to go. It pushes down clearly and sets clearly. I like that good positive click. Moving around the reel, the side plate. It's easy to operate. This does have the dual brake system. So of course your external magnetic brakes, you simply turn it for max and then turn it that way for min, as indicated on the dial. The side plates on the reels, all three of these are extremely easy to get into. There's just a little push tab or pull tab as they indicate. Here, you simply pull that and rotate the side plate of your reel and they come right off. Now on the inside, you will see this is a familiar brake system to that guy. The centrifugal braking system is extremely easy to operate. You just turn the dial for more or turn it down for less. And what that's going to do is bring out these little white tabs. And what those little white tabs will do is rub on the inside of this brass ring right here, right there. And these kind of brakes are extremely helpful for new anglers. That's one thing that this does have over the Royal Legend. It's got a true centrifugal braking system. The Royal Legend centrifugal braking system is just a little bit different. It's kind of a modified version. It really acts as more of an extension of the spool tension knob. Whereas these brakes are true centrifugal brakes. They kick out as the reel speeds up. These little white brakes put pressure on the inside of that brass ring, really helping slow down your cast at the beginning. Or if you like to really cast hard, those will flare out and put more pressure the harder you cast. And of course, the higher you turn it up, the more pressure that's going to apply at the beginning of the cast. So a very useful and helpful feature for new anglers. Putting the reel back together is just as easy. You'll bring it back in that position and turn it on, and that's all there is to do to get it put back together. You can see that the Royal Legend has a side plate that's a little bit fatter. It's a little bit higher and goes a little bit lower than the Spartacus Plus. So I do like that about this reel. The palmability of this reel is awesome. and it feels eerily similar to the Assassin. As you turn the reel over, you will notice that it does have the 11+1 bearing system. And finally, the drag. The drag on the Spartacus Plus is 17.5 pounds, the same as the Royal Legend. The Assassin is 16.5 pounds. What would I use this reel for? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think it's time for me to share what I use a 6:3:1 gear ratio reel for. To me, this reel fits perfectly as a moving bait reel. Every angler's got a tempo, right? If you're just standing there reeling, not paying attention, how do you reel? What speed do you reel? If I'm just standing there not paying attention, this is how I reel. Pretty quick reeling. So if I'm fishing any of these baits, moving baits that I'm constantly working, moving, using my reel to move the bait, I don't want to go too fast. Even a 7:0:1 is sometimes borderline. There are times when the fish definitely want these baits quicker. However, most of the time I am safest with a lot of these if I'm fishing them at a steady tempo. And this gear ratio reel for me fits the best. So any sort of skirted moving bait, a swim jig, the trusty spinner bait in bluegill color, killer with spawn time coming up. The old chatterbait also in bluegill color, getting ready for that spawn season. Any of those skirted moving baits. The underspin, now this is I know a little bit big for this one, it's just what I had laying over there, but the underspin is something that was absolutely killer for me last season. Caught a ton of fish on it, either this one with the exposed open hook or the belly weighted underspin. Both are killer, either slow roll or fast burning through the grass. These are killer. Finally, the last application that I like to use this reel for would be crankbaits. With it being pretty cold on it, I've been using a flat-sided crankbait. I need to get out more. I've only been out a couple times, but these are killer. They have a little bit tighter wobble action when the water's cold, or something like a jerkbait. And even as the water warms up and I start to throw just a regular, 6-foot diving crankbait or a square bill, I still prefer the 6:3:1 gear ratio reel. If I need to with a bait like this, I can slow down and make sure I'm ticking off the rocks and not just using it as a shovel and digging down with a real fast reel. I'll end up burying that bill and getting stuck in things. Now again, it's not a perfect science. I could certainly use this for other applications, but that's just what I like to use it for these. What do you know about this little thing? It's kind of my secret weapon. I can't show you too much of that, but anyway, that's what I like to use this reel for. So where does this reel fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, if price is your number one concern, you're a new angler, you just don't have much to spend on a reel, you want to get in the market, you want to try a Baitcaster, I would all day go with the Royal Legend. I'm still using this reel. I've been fishing all my life. I'm still going to use this one this year. I've got some 40-pound braid on it. This is going to be my frogging setup this year. At $39, this is the least expensive option out of all of them. Now, additionally, if you want a little bit faster 7.0 reel, you'd have to go with the Royal Legend. Both of these are in the 6:3:1 gear ratio. This reel is an amazing starter reel. Again, it's got the dual braking system, so it's got the centrifugal and the magnetic brakes. It's got the upgraded larger cork handles over the Royal Legend, and it's just a solid reel in hand. It's extremely smooth, it fits the hand really well. You honestly would never guess the price of this reel if you just picked it up and grabbed it and started spinning it. Awesome for the price. I know I'm probably going to take a little bit of slack for this, but these are my favorite knobs and handles out of all three of these. And when you look at them up close like this, you can see what I mean. This is the smallest handle out of the three. It's also kind of the flattest. You see how it barely flares up at the top? Now this is a very comfortable handle. I like this handle a lot and I prefer EVA the most. Now if you want to go up to a little bit wider handle, the Spartacus Plus definitely does get wider. It's the widest this way. It's also nice and wide this way. It's got a nice flare up at the top too. I just don't know what it is. I'm hooked on these EVA handles on the Assassin. You'll notice this handle when I compare them side by side, this Assassin handle is longer. Additionally, when you turn them sideways, the side flare is about the same. So it's a little bit longer handle. When I go to grab it this way and hold on to it, I've got kind of larger fingers, longer fingers. It fits extremely comfortable for me here. I like the soft EVA. But again, that's just a personal preference. So what are my final thoughts on this reel? It's a solid, sturdy reel. It's extremely comfortable in the hand. The knobs are nice and large. They feel comfortable when you turn it. The 6:3:1 gear ratio on it is extremely universal. I fish most all of my moving baits on it, and really you could fish anything on this if you wanted to. If you only had one reel, you're not going to go wrong using this gear ratio. It's got dual brakes, especially for beginners. Those internal centrifugal brakes, centrifugal, whatever they are extremely helpful for beginners. It's It's got a good wide positive spool tension knob, star drag that clicks. It's a good all-around sturdy option. So if you like reviews like this, comparisons, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you would like to see this reel compared to another one. Whatever type of reel you have out there, I would love to do that. I love getting into those. If you want to see this broke open, whatever. Let me know what you want to see more and comment below. Now, if you've not already subscribed to the KastKing channel, please consider doing so for more informative videos just like this one. And until next time...